Well, welcome everyone. It's Natalie Ashdown here with you. Welcome to our Coaching Cafe, and it's really nice to be back actually. I've been not away, but I've been delivering our Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching program for the last couple of weeks on a Friday, so I have missed you all. Welcome back to our Coaching Cafe, where today we'll be talking about keeping up the momentum and the motivation. So before I begin, as always, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we meet today and their continuing connection to the land, waters and communities of Australia. And we pay our respects to them and to the elders past, present, emerging, and anyone who might be on the line today who is an Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. So our quick agenda for today, we want to talk about keeping up the momentum and the motivation. I want to give you a short lesson on physics. So I don't mind telling you all that I am way outside my comfort zone on this one, but we'll see how we go. I hope there's some, I hope our Air Force people and our engineers are on the line to help me with this. And then I want to talk about what does this actually mean for coaching. If you're new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We come together every Friday at this time to really create a community of continuous improvement and continuous practice, to create a shared learning experience and to have some thought-provoking conversations. So I always love coming together on a Friday with everyone. We have a top-up of our skills and knowledge around coaching and keep up our professional development together. And of course, if you are here because you're collecting ICSCCUs, then you simply need to just send a message through to support and we can get you your certificate. So just giving you a background to this topic actually, why did we go with keeping up momentum and motivation for this Coaching Cafe? I always look at the themes that are happening in our executive coaching throughout the week or over the last couple of weeks. And I've asked clients like you all would, people in the workplace as well, what is it you'd like to talk about today? What would you like to achieve today? What's going to give you the most value from our coaching conversation today? And momentum came up nearly with all clients actually. Momentum came up and the word motivation came up, not only for themselves as executives and senior leaders in the workplace, but also for their teams. So I started to think, yeah, there's a real theme going on here, particularly in the last couple of weeks. If you're in Victoria, then we are, well and truly in lockdown. We have been for quite some time. We're not sure if there's going to be when we're going to be, run free, you can go free, So, there's quite a bit, hearing quite a bit of fatigue out there around restrictions and lockdown and things like that. When it comes to senior managers and leaders, they are trying to keep up their own momentum and motivation, and then of course coach their teams. So let me just check in on you all. We come together every Friday. Let me just check in how you're feeling at the moment in terms of motivation and momentum. Feel free to pop a message into the chat box and let's just share our experiences. I know for myself, 1st of September, it's spring. That signals, the lead up to the end of the year for me. It's like last quarter, let's go, or, leading into the last quarter. So the weather's starting to change. If you're in some of the eastern states, the weather's starting to change. It's starting to get really nice. I know the people in Brisbane are already stripping off their clothes because it's getting hot. So it's interesting actually what spring signals to us and how we're feeling at the moment about the what's going on and what's happening. So yeah, I can see the comments coming through. Thanks. Mike says in Victoria in particular, managing a national team, we're all zoomed out. Yeah, there's a lot of Zoom meetings going on. They're prolific, isn't it? It's the way that we catch up with people now. We can't just bump into people on the corridors. So that, Mike, is definitely a theme across all the coaching that we're doing for sure. So it's about how do we manage that? How do we help people around that? We don't have that bump into the corridor. We don't have the just walk down the corridor and have a quick chat. The friendly banter's not there. They're kind of things that people are telling us. So yeah. Gail, she says she's just over it. Good on you. And I think it's great that you can say that. I'm over it. The change in the weather has helped though, and it lifts our spirits. Yeah. I agree. I did my morning walk with my morning mindfulness, and I just stood there in the sun, just like get that sun on my face, like breathing in the sunshine. And it was a crisp morning the last couple of mornings here in Victoria. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that, just like get that sun on our faces. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Bev, yeah, she says she's found her team are losing a little bit of focus at the moment. Yeah, it's funny. It comes in ebbs and flows, doesn't it? So it is about going, okay, acknowledging what we have been through, particularly in Victoria, what we are still going through, across Australia, what we're going through in terms of people continuing to work from home. For me, it's really about acknowledging that and then just nudging towards the momentum and the motivation. I think if we just try to keep hammering people, not that we would, but that kind of hammering people it's just not working. Like people are just it's just not working. They're just too tired. So yeah, a lot of people haven't had holidays. A lot of people aren't going on holidays because why would you if you can't go overseas or go somewhere? A lot of that's going on. Yeah, thank you. Well, it's nice to check in on each other, isn't it, really? It's nice to just make sure we're looking after each other, and we have got such a wonderful community here. We come together every week, so let's continue to do that. Yeah. And Gail says acknowledgement is really important. Yeah, acknowledging what people have got going on for them, that this is their reality. And, from a coaching point of view, what's happening now for people's reality is all different. We're all in different circumstances. No, as you know, no two people's circumstances are the same. So acknowledging the reality and then, yeah, thinking about how we can nudge forward. Yeah, thank you. All right, look after yourselves. Bye. No, I'm joking. Got a bit more to discuss. Okay, so here comes the physics lesson. Watch out. Now, as I said, I'm way outside my comfort zone here. But I have been doing so much thinking about this. I just can't get it out of my head. When we think about what's momentum, I typed into Google momentum definitions and I got the physics definitions. And there's a part of me that would just kind of ignore that and look for a definition that is a social science definition as opposed to a real science, like a scientific explanation. So, but I went with it anyway. I thought, come on, let's stretch ourselves. So I want to just introduce you to these couple of ideas, and then let's talk about what it means for coaching. Because if there's one thing I'm loving at the moment, it's taking scientific concepts and looking how we can apply it to social science, but also to coaching. There's something going on for me at the moment where I'm like, bring it, and I'm trying to apply things to coaching and stretch my brain. So, okay, I'm a bit of a freak, but anyway. So momentum, the scientific definition, the physics definition is mass times velocity. So the P is momentum equals, it's the product times the mass times the velocity. So it's the mass of an object times the velocity. And velocity is basically about how fast the thing is moving. So if an object is moving, if it has velocity and it has mass, then it has momentum. So think of us as a body. Our body is mass. If we have movement, then we have velocity, therefore we have momentum. Think about taking that first step to start running, to get yourself going. We're moving this mass and we're getting that speed going, therefore we have momentum. Now, I know there's a few freak runners on the line. So I always kind of mocked runners, you know who you are, when they run up and down on the spot at the traffic lights, right? They're running up and down. I'm like, oh, look at them running up and down. But what that is about keeping the movement going. So when the traffic lights change, they have that momentum to keep going. So if the object, as in us, stops moving at the traffic lights, then we lose our momentum. And it's only just until I really started to think about it in these terms that I thought, okay, That is actually what we're doing. We're keeping our movement going. So when we run off at the traffic lights, we've got that momentum to keep us propelling forward. So that's the idea. Objects with a large amount of momentum are hard to stop. So a large truck moving at speed, it takes a long time to stop. That's why people say you need to keep your distance, and trucks need to keep their distance, and don't cut off trucks on the freeway, because the truck, a large object that has got speed and momentum, will take a long time to stop. Oh, Mike, thank you. Already better than my physics teacher at school. Thank you so much. You know, I really feel like I'm stretching outside my comfort zone, but I kind of love it. So thank you for that. So things start to make sense to me now. If you're on the freeway and they talk about cars not cutting in front of trucks, the reason for that is because it takes that truck a long time to stop. And the reason is it's a large object that's got momentum. So there you go. Go on Encyclopedia Britannica, read more about Newton's first law of physics and his second law of physics, which basically says that external forces help create momentum. So if you've got an external force on you, that on the object, that creates momentum. And momentum can be pushing. So you can push forward and you can have object pushing against you, and that equals things out. So think about that from a running point of view. If I'm running, I've got momentum going forward, but the headwind, I had this actually bike riding last weekend. I'm bike riding, but the headwind was so against me that it felt like I was not going anywhere. So my momentum is being cancelled out because of the headwind, the force of the headwind towards me. So there you go. That is our physics lesson for today. And you can then start thinking about P equals M minus V for the rest of the weekend. An object that's not moving has no momentum. So like we say with the standing still at the traffic lights, if I'm standing still at the traffic lights, I've got no momentum. If a truck is parked, it has no momentum. So that's what we're thinking about. So I don't mind if you say, excuse me, I thought this was a coaching cafe, not a dodgy physics lesson. But what does it mean to us? Well, if you've got, like I said, if you've got a large object like an elephant is what it's basically meaning is a big mass, like an elephant, moving along slowly can have large momentum. And a small mass moved along very fast has large momentum. So a big elephant moving along slowly, because it's a large mass, even though the velocity is slow, can have large momentum. Or a small object like a mouse is small, mass is small, but velocity is high, so it can have large momentum. So hypothetically, thank you, Gail, she says she's loving it. I'm so pleased, thank you. Hypothetically, an elephant and a mouse could have the same momentum. A large object moving slowly and a small object moving super fast, hypothetically could have the same momentum, which is very interesting. So, what has that got to do with coaching? I'm glad you asked. Can you see where I'm going with this? Hopefully you can. I'm sure all the great coaches are going, yep, we're getting it. Okay, so how does momentum feel first? So when we get momentum, we feel like we're on the move. You know, we talk about we've got momentum in our work, or we've got momentum in our running, or we've got momentum in what we're doing. You know, a task that we're doing. So when we've got momentum, we feel like we're on the move. We feel like we're unstoppable. You know, we've smashed it out. We've had a great day and we've achieved a lot. So we have days where we're really on the move. We've got that great momentum. We finish the day. We go, you know what? We have smashed that day. It's been fantastic. And we've really achieved a lot. Now, what I think is happening, and you can share with what you think, is that we know that momentum ebbs and flows. And right now, during COVID times, there is going to be days where we feel like we've got momentum and other days where we have got no momentum. And that's because we're tired, or we didn't sleep too well, or we're stressed, or just things, you know, you've got your to-do list, but they're just not getting ticked off. So sometimes, and particularly now, and it's really important to think about our teams when we're coaching them, some people on our teams will have momentum, a lot of momentum. Others won't be feeling it. They won't have as much momentum. So what can we do from a coaching point of view? Well, we can achieve momentum like an elephant, taking a big task and moving it along slowly. Here comes the coaching. Can you see where it's kicking in now? So we can help our teams, like we do all the time, to get momentum by taking those elephants and nudging them along slowly. Or we can take a whole pile of little tasks and move them along quickly. Either way, we're going to get momentum. And as you can see, if you take those big tasks and you chunk them down to small tasks and you start nudging them along even quicker, then the momentum's going to build. So it's interesting to me, you can think about like a big project that you've got. I've got a couple of big things I'm working on at the moment, and I have committed to doing a little bit on each of those projects every day. It's like my piano practice. For those of you that have hooked into the Cert 4 coaching, the coaching demonstration on the Cert 4, I'm just doing a little bit of piano practice every single day. And what I'm doing is moving a big task, like be able to play that piece of music, nudging it along little bit by little bit. And we can do this with our coaching as well. And if we take those big tasks and just do a little bit, move it along slowly, we've got momentum with that task. And that's exactly what we need to pull off the big tasks. And it stops us from being tired. So if you've got teams working on big tasks and they're just big tasks, big tasks, big tasks, it's like it's too big, I can't move on it, then procrastination starts, they get tired, etc. We know from a coaching point of view, we can also break things down into little things. Just do little things and then nudge them along, move them along quickly. Now, what we have to watch out for here, obviously, is that if all those little tasks that we're moving along quickly is our email, it's like delete, 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 delete. Well, that gets momentum going. You know, that gets momentum going. We delete, delete, delete. Oh, we're feeling good. Our inbox is getting back under control, hypothetically, for the next 5 minutes. So we can move it along quickly, but we need to be making sure that what we're moving along quickly is actually taking us in the direction that we want. Because one of the other laws of Isaac Newton is that momentum has direction. And of course, you know that we could be moving ourselves in the wrong direction as well. It's called vector, if you want to go look it up. So momentum has a vector. Basically, it has a direction. And when it comes to coaching, obviously, we need to make sure we're moving these things along in the right direction. I think just delete, 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 delete email, it gets us momentum, but it might not get us going in the right direction. So it's something to think about. All right, over to you. Tell me what you're making of this. Have I completely lost it? Are you going to draw up the, I love these simple formulas that have got a lot behind it. And I really like the idea that we can take from science and apply it to our social science, which is quite interesting. Let me know what you're thinking about that. So if we think about the formula, which you know that I all love, which I do love, which is this one, P equals P minus I. You'll see me use this formula, performance equals potential minus interference. So what's getting in the way of our momentum? Let's take, this is Tim Gallwey's from The Inner Game of Tennis, for those of you that have read it. So from The Inner Game of Tennis, Gallwey said, who was a mate of Sir John Whitmore, said performance equals potential minus interference. So if we're thinking about momentum and coaching, What gets in the way? Well, interference gets in the way, doesn't it? So we can coach people around interference, what's actually getting in the way of their momentum. Makes sense, doesn't it? Because if there's things getting in the way of their momentum, velocity is low. You've got a big task, velocity is almost zero. So we've got zero movement and zero momentum. So that task is going nowhere if there's big interference. So we can coach someone around the interference. Oh, thank you. Gail says, already planning the discussion I'll have with my team. Good on you. Yeah, I just think sometimes like doing something a bit different is cool, isn't it? Like it just makes us think about it. Every time, you know, if not that some of us are driving cars at the moment because we can't go outside, but you know, if you think about just the real world examples, it makes a lot of sense. You know, headwind, when I'm bike riding into headwind, there's opposite forces happening. My legs are pushing momentum forward. The wind is pushing against me. So the forward momentum is well, last weekend I could tell you I was going nowhere. Alexandra says, brilliant. Makes sense in the real world. Yeah, that's what it is for me. Wallabies says, this is great. The simplicity allows us to use these concepts in whatever way suits us best as individuals. Yes, I love your comment there. And that's what it's all about, you see, because momentum, particularly now, is going to be different for everyone on our team. It's going to be different for us from what happens during the day. Think about those days where you start off, right, and you've got momentum. You've had a good night's sleep. You've got momentum. This mass, these tasks, they're on the move, and then we get some interference. So we get some interference. Something happens that slows down our momentum. Like you know, you're running, and then you get to the traffic lights. Now, there's some of us on the line, me included. I'm basically begging those traffic lights to change. I want to stop. I'm puffing and panting, going, please give me an excuse to stop. But real runners know that that's the last thing you want. So it's a bit like that in our workplaces with everyone on our teams, and everyone's different. So having a think about your team, about what's getting in the way of their performance, what's getting in the way of their potential, what interference is getting in the way, is a really great discussion, and a really easy one when we think about momentum. So here's the other tool that you would have seen in our Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching program. Let's stock take. Let's do some coaching around what has to change to enable our momentum. What a beautiful question. Do we have to change the mass? Do we have to change the velocity? Do we have to break bigger tasks down to smaller ones? Or do we have to speed up? Or do we have to nudge forward? What do we need to do? What do we need to start doing? What do we need to do more of? What do we need to stop? And what do we need to do less of? So a lot of you will have seen this in our Certificate 4 program, and I like bringing it back because it's such a simple tool, a 2x2 grid that we can draw up on an A4 piece of paper. You know, draw 2 lines on a piece of paper, cut that piece of paper into 4 pieces and go start, stop, more of, less of. And this is an easy conversation we can have. So let's stock take our reality. Let's just talk about, like we just did this morning, like we just did, you know, to kick off our session. What's happening now? What's going on? How's the momentum feeling at the moment for you? And what has to change to enable our momentum? Our momentum as individuals, our momentum as leaders, as we lead our teams, and our momentum as a team as well. Bearing in mind that different people can have different momentum, and that moves the team forward as well. So there's lots of ways we can think of our P equals M times B. Look at me now, I'm just rolling off physics, physics formulas. Let me know what you're thinking about this. We know that some things can slow us down as well. So we might have momentum, we might be, working, nudging forward, and things will slow us down. And that's actually okay, acknowledging that. So if things are slowing us down, we can come back to our start, stop, more of, less of as well. And think about, all right, what do we need here? So let's talk about motivation. Here's my ideas about this. Whenever you look up motivation, they basically talk about a feeling. I wake up in the morning and I'm motivated, like I'm motivated to get out of bed and go for do my run, or I come into work and I'm motivated, like I've got this feeling I'm motivated. What we need to do is capture that feeling and turn it into action. So momentum is about movement and action. If we're not taking action, nothing happens. So what we need to do is use that motivation to get the momentum going. So if we're not feeling motivated, then we can still get momentum going. And so it's really interesting here. So motivation's a feeling. We can use that to actually get the momentum going. Start getting on a roll. I feel great. The sun's out. It's awesome. Let's go for a run. So that gets the momentum wheel turning, which is great. The thing is motivation's a feeling. So let's face it, we're not always going to feel it. What's important here is actually momentum. And I think, for what it's worth, momentum trumps motivation. What that means is if I keep up the momentum, if I keep nudging things forward, I keep doing a little bit each day, then even when I'm not feeling it, I'll still have momentum. And I love this idea. Sometimes I'm feeling like I want to go for a run. Most days I'm feeling like I'm not. But momentum, getting up, putting the runners on, getting out there, putting one foot in front of the other, just getting that momentum going, means that the momentum keeps going. And then I start to feel it. So momentum is the thing we need to be focusing on for our teams. It's nudging those things forward, particularly when we're not feeling it. Now, this is really important, isn't it, right now in COVID times? If we're not feeling it, if we're not feeling the motivation, then let's not do rah, rah, dance on tables. Come on, you can do it, Let's just nudge it. Nudge it forward. Take that big task, nudge it forward, or start knocking off little things to get us momentum. Of course, look at coaching now. It's an external force. Remember what I said? Isaac Newton's second law is that an external force, if you have an external force, that actually starts to get momentum going. Think about me on the bike. If that headwind is coming from behind me, an external force with my little legs on the bike, I'm moving. I've got the wind in my hair. I'm like, woohoo, it's the best day of my life. Okay, slow down. We're coming to a corner. How do I get my cleats out without doing a stack? So coaching becomes an external force. We become, as coaches, the external force where our great coaching, our listening, our acknowledgement, our focus on P, performance, potential minus interference, focus on momentum times velocity. We become that external force which creates the momentum as well. So there you have it. A focus on momentum is going to trump motivation. A focus on nudging things forward, even when we're not feeling like it, is going to keep that momentum going. And for me, with the teams and what everyone's got going on, I honestly think that's where our focus should be. Let's not just worry about, I hope you're feeling good, woohoo, feeling woohoo. Let's just focus on, keeping things moving, keeping the wheels turning. And as the wheels turn, we'll start to feel it as well. Of course, if your wheels are turning and things are going great, then let's build on that. Let's take that momentum. Let's take that, the velocity that we've got. So if we've got velocity, we've got movement, velocity means we've got movement, then let's build on that. let's use that velocity. Let's spread that velocity through our teams. And then hopefully they'll start to feel it as well. So there you go. That is a physics lesson / what has that got to do with coaching? Bev says, perfect timing for my next one-on-one with a team member next week. You know, I honestly think, Bev, it's things like this. It's looking at things from a different perspective that actually makes a difference. It's a bit of a cut through. Let's just talk about it from a physics point of view. This is the law of science. It's the law of nature. It's the law of bodies and particles. So let's just take a look at it from that point of view. And I think sometimes it actually helps with a bit of a, you know, a different way of thinking about things. A real aha moment today. So timely. Thank you, Gail. Yeah, I'm so pleased you enjoyed it because, like I said at the beginning, I'm outside my comfort zone here. I'm like, am I actually going to go onto a coaching cafe and talk about physics? And I went, you know what? We are in a great environment here. This is what we're all about when we come together. Yeah, so thank you. Alrighty. So I wish you well. I wish you well with your mass. I wish you well with your velocity. I wish you well with mass times velocity. And I wish you well for momentum. And don't forget, it's not about going fast, right? I think the other thing that we have to realize right now is this is not necessarily about going fast. Think about the elephant. The elephant moving at a slow pace can have the same momentum as a mouse running at speed. So it's a really good thing to think about for ourselves internally, tap into how we're feeling about things. And just remember, it's not about speed. It doesn't have to be about speed. It doesn't have to be about smashing. It can actually be about nudging. And I love that idea of nudging. Big projects, nudge them forward a little bit every day, a little bit every day. Keep the momentum up, keep it moving, and that'll get us our results. Alrighty, any other thoughts or comments before we finish up today? Just a reminder, we've got our Leader as Coach programs going on. So if you would like to support us by sending all of your team members on our Leader as Coach programs, wonderful. And also our mental health first aid training. We've got some new dates for that as well. So we really think that's a super important, lovely complement to our coaching skills as well. So feel free to tap into our website there and jump on those. I've done that mental health first aid course twice now, and I really think it's really valuable. It just allows us to have those additional conversations if we need to. So thank you, everyone. Pleasure to see you all again. I wish you well in your momentum, and most importantly, wish you well in your coaching as well. So enjoy your coaching, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. I will say goodbye for now. Thank you, Marie. Thanks, Gail. Thanks for joining me.